Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. I'm here with the Natural Progressive and her team of assistants on her couch that are her staff.
The wonderful staff. Yes. Support system right there.
Yeah, her research staff, her support system, the inner workings of the Natural Progressive Brain Trust are all right there. Being adorable. So thank you, first of all, for supporting the show. And to anybody out there watching, if you do the $25 level on the Patreon, the link is below. You get to do interviews like this on the Skype, which I thoroughly enjoy because you guys are always bringing more attention to subjects that I wasn't aware of. And so Chris, on the last one, we talked about the Bears ears, and you say that there are some updates on that. Now, just to give some people some backstory, you've put me in touch with Robert from the Ute tribe, and I'm trying to set up an interview with somebody from them. In the meantime, and I've supported this, if you go to the Ute PAC, you can donate to them to help their cause. They're one of it's an organization of multiple indigenous tribes who are trying to preserve Bears ears. So Chris, thank you for being on the show, and you have some updates for us on what's going on with Bears ears.
Well, not too many updates, but I know that Utah is right now trying to fight to get exempted from the Antiquities Act. And basically what that would do is make it so it's super easy for monuments to be reduced, but they could never make more monuments or make monuments larger by presidential executive order. So, and I guess Wyoming and Alaska already are exempt from that, which is crazy because there's a lot of history in Alaska and Wyoming. So that was news to me. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but
well, yeah, I have heard a little bit about that, and it just shows you the extent that the oil, gas, and mining companies, the amount of power that they have, that they can either bypass or just do away with the Antiquities Act, where because all they want to do is they just want to go into federally protected lands and dig them up for natural resources. So that's what this is all about. I mean,
Right. And then just this morning, there was a news story that they were saying there's some emails that have been released with, I think Hatchet is involved. It was just a short little blurb, but it pretty much said that the emails showed that it was about the mining, why they reduced the monument. And that's going to be more interesting to look into in the future. So something to look into later.
I mean, Orrin Hatch, I was on an episode of the Jimmy Dore Show a couple months back where he's talking about I understand the poor, and he is a hilarious character, and everything that he does is about big money and big corporations. So I'm not shocked at all that these emails come out. It'd be interesting to see how the corporate media will handle these emails. That's what's more curious to me, is are they going to just sort of, there's been some emails, and then just kind of sweep it under the rug and barely mention it? That seems the most likely. But it's another thing. So anybody watching this, I'll put the Ute PAC link below.
Ute PAC, though.
Ute. I'm sorry. I'm saying it wrong. Oh, my God. I'm such a gringo.
No, it's okay. It's Utah, so it's Ute PAC. It's a Ute tribe, so Ute PAC. But it's driving me crazy. Sorry.
Thank you for correcting me, and you didn't let me go on for another 15 minutes mispronouncing it, so it makes sense. Utah. Of course, Utah. That's where it comes from. Yes. The Ute PAC. That's hilarious. I love mispronouncing things unknowingly. It's a skill of mine.
Yeah, it's like Chaffetz. Everybody mispronounces Jason Chaffetz's name, too. So it's not just you. Everybody does that, Especially Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore cannot pronounce Jason Chaffetz. I don't know why. But.
All right. So go to the Ute PAC and donate to help. That's a great way for anybody out there watching. And of course, if you live in Utah, you can you can vote and petition and go to town hall meetings and do all the stuff that you can if you're a registered voter in that state. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is it's something it sounds like you've battled in your personal life, is dealing with workers' rights. So I wanted to get into that on this video today.
Okay, awesome. I just have to start out with a disclaimer.
Okay.
You know, you know how that kind of thing goes.
Sure.
So, I do not mean to imply intent of managers or company, only my personal perspective, and all federal cases have since been resolved.
Sure. And the views of this show only reflect my views, Graham Elwood's views, and not those of a company or aforementioned business or whatever. Okay. I'm glad that you did that to protect yourself legally. Good for you. I don't want anyone to get in trouble being on my show. That's the last thing I want. I only want to be getting in trouble for mispronouncing words. So, tell us your story. Tell us and what you've done and what, especially other people who are in similar situations, what they can do or what their rights are.
Yeah, that's what I really want to focus on. What other people can do. Also a little, about what I've been through and what I've learned through the process. And it was a long process. It started back in December 2013. And, well, it goes back further than that, but I was let go in December 2013, laid off, but denied unemployment because of poor performance. And it ended up being because I was bringing up issues regarding safety. And so they said I was not a team player because I was trying to bring people into the conversation about safety. And I don't think the company, the managers, knew the laws there. And I didn't know the laws at the time. So it's really important if you're going through a really hard time at work to find out what your rights are. Because I didn't find out till after the fact, but all I knew was the reason I was given when I was initially let go was, well, they told me I was a safety risk because I brought up my safety concerns. So I'm like, there's no freaking way I'm a safety risk when I'm bringing up the safety concerns. Well, you must be afraid you're going to have that problem. So
that's
after they let me go.
And the thing, because I understand companies are, they're so worried about liability and lawsuits. I get that. So then why they seem like they're so short-sighted? Like, if
they're going against their long-term interests to cut these corners short-term, because in the long run, I'm talking about unions right now. If they had a union, it never would have went as far as it did. And they wouldn't have had the cost they had going through a 4-year battle with me. It would have been all settled within the first year, done. And I think in the long run, employers, if everybody stood up for their rights, it would end up costing them more not to have a union.
Right. If
everyone did what I did, but people are afraid to, and I don't understand. They're afraid to get blackballed because that's the biggest thing you hear here in Utah. In fact, a previous company that I worked with that I suffered some sexual harassment kind of thing, when I brought it up to management, they said people who make those complaints will never, ever, actually I should say not people, women who make those complaints will never, ever make it in this business.
Wow.
And yeah. And I don't think women fight hard enough. Because I didn't. I mean, I kept tons of notes for years and years on that, thinking someday I'm going to go after that because that was just wrong. I was almost written up, denied promotion, I had to transfer out of one place to another in order to get out of the write-up, but I transferred really quick, ended up making more money anyway, but so that was good. And then actually advanced my career until I got stopped by another discrimination issue at that same company, and I'm not going to mention any names there because it's too late for me to do anything about it. I just think that if I would have done something about it at the time, that would have helped. And people just overlooking these things, saying there's nothing you can do. Now that I've been through it, yeah, it was a hard battle. 4 years is a long time to battle. But I think in the long run, and even in the short run, the minute I filed the charges, things changed there. They started hiring more women. Okay, you should know there was only 2 women that worked there in a company or a plant that had about 100 people, 80 to 100. I'm not sure exactly the number, but there were 2 women outside the office at the time. Oh, no, sorry, 3. There was 3 of us. But the other one got let go the same day I did. So it was, wait, not the same day, the day after. Sorry, my mistake. It was the day after. But anyway, so you're working with all these men, and you don't feel powerful, you know? And you get shut down, and the women just think they need to just go along with everything.
Because the threat of losing your job is kind of always hung over your head. Is that right?
Yeah. And when you go through things like I did with my previous job, you really start to just go with the flow and not try to make any waves. Because, you know, before I was there, you'll never work again in this industry if you make those kind of claims, you know? So, and it was a guy that was a manager that asked me out, who was married, by the way, and I told him no. And then he threatened to write me up for the stupidest reason ever, and I wasn't going to have it. I immediately put in for a transfer, and it happened really fast because I knew so many people in that business that they were very happy to take me at the other location. So thank God. But, you know, if I didn't have that opportunity, I would have just been kept at that small level, you know. But it goes so much deeper into that. There are so many times when I wish I would have fought before and it would have changed things. And now that I know all my rights, it's so frustrating. Okay, I'm going to go. This is a really long story, so it's like you'll remind me of one little instance every time we get on one subject. It'll remind me of another, so I'm really sorry to jump all over the place. But one of my cases was a wage claim. So what would happen when I was working there is, okay, we'd have to be there like 15 minutes early before we clocked in, but we'd only get paid, you know, at the hour we're supposed to clock in. And then if we got kept late 10 minutes, we'd still only get paid for the time that was 10 minutes before that. So we'd get cut off all that overtime pay, and it was all overtime. So I complained about it to the Human Resources Department, who was useless at this company. They didn't have any control, and nothing I can do about it. And then the manager would say to our crew, if you're going to complain about it, then, well, we'll just force you to take lunch, which would make your day a half an hour longer. And no one wanted to do that. So you get to work those extra minutes, not work. I mean, you weren't really working when you first got there, but you had to be there. You were told you needed to be there 15 minutes before the shift. You weren't working, but you had to be there. So if you have to be there, I figure you should have to be paid for it. But my biggest thing was after, okay, I'm already there 15 minutes early, and then you keep me there late, and I want to just get home, and I'm not getting paid for that time extra. Anyway, it ended up, they first denied the claim. This was through the Labor Commission, and the reason they denied it is because no one else would back me up. no one in the company was willing to. I had one of the other workers that worked on the crew opposite of mine that said, yeah, I know that's the case, but I can't say anything. I don't want to lose my job. And but if you talk to these people outside of your company, they're not even going to be able to find out who you are. So why are you afraid?
Right.
And they were still afraid. But I convinced one other person too, and on appeal, I got that through, and I got a check, but so did everybody else. So it wasn't just me. So that made me feel good, because other people, even the ones that wouldn't stand up, got a check from that one. That was before this attorney got involved and everything, so I can talk about that freely. That was awesome. But yeah, 2 of the 3 years or 4 years that I went through this, I had no attorney. It was just me.
So then, how did you do that? Did you just go basically on the internet and find all of your rights, or were there self-help centers you went to, or how did you get the information?
Yeah, no, there's no help. And that's why I want to talk about it, because I searched YouTube, I searched Google, I searched everything to find someone who's been through what I've been through, and there's no personal stories about it. And then, so all you're left with is going online and finding the laws. So I'd be going on there and researching all the laws, and I'm a researcher from hell. I mean, that's just what I do. I love to research. So I'd go on there and research this and research that, and what's this law, what's that law, and what are my rights here, what are my rights there. And once I find them, I find out the agency that was over that. So unfortunately, I didn't find the Labor Commission until a year, or I don't know, it was like 6 months. It was the last one I filed, but the first one that was settled. It was really weird. If I would have filed it like 2 months earlier, everyone would have got a lot more money. But they only go 2 years back from the time you file. So it ended up only being the overtime for like a year or something.
So then once you filed and you won, then you actually, your fellow employees benefited from this?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they got a check. Yeah. It was awesome. I felt pretty good about that.
Did they take you out to dinner or something like that? Did they?
Oh, no. I think most of them pretty much hate me right now, but that's what you face, but it's okay. So I'm sure they smiled at the time when they got that check out of nowhere. But
why do you say that a lot of them don't like you, right? Just because you stirred it up too much for them, or?
I think just there's a lot of bad talk after you do something like that. So, and it's a small town. It's a really super small town, and the whole issue caused problems between me and my daughter, because my daughter was friends with one of the other people that were involved, and it just got nasty. It was so hard.
Hold
on.
Chris, let the dogs out.
Yeah, my husband just got home. And I gotta close the door before. Oh, you're gonna stay there? Okay, that's fine. You go out. You bark. Honey, hi, love you. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's okay.
So, before we wrap up here, what would you say to somebody who's watching this show? Because I'll just add this, I had to get a restraining order against an ex-girlfriend, and it was a challenging thing, and there was a work environment, a place that a comedy club that I work at, but I mean I'm a freelance, I'm a general contractor, or whatever you want to call it, contractor, so I don't.
Mm-hmm.
She would work there part-time and stuff, and so it was amazing to me how quickly I was dismissed for...
Oh, yeah. Well, guys don't have that problem. I mean,
yeah.
See, that's a totally different topic, because I went through that with my husband. His wife was super abusive, and I went through the whole custody battle with him. And when he left her, she was scary. She pushed him down the stairs. She went after him with a jack handle, and when women are violent, they generally use weapons. when men are violent, they, use their fists or whatever, or throw you. In my experience, throw you or throw things at you. But when I was trying to protect him during that whole thing, that's when we first got together, is when he was going through all that. And I was trying to reach out to some support groups and advocates for abused spouses. And when I called them, they would say, we don't have any resources for men. Men don't have that problem. I'm like, are you crazy? Men do too have that problem.
Yeah, the statistic I heard is it's 20% of domestic abuse is women against men.
Yeah, and it exists, and it's a real problem.
It is, and that's what's reported. I would imagine a lot of men would just not want to report it because, oh, you're a man, you should toughen up.
Oh, yeah, it's embarrassing, I guess, to some men. It's their manlyhood at stake, I guess, but it really isn't. I mean, when you're a man, you don't touch women like that. If you're a true gentleman, a man, you don't do that. So all you have is defending yourself because you're not going to be an aggressor.
Yeah.
So I think it's crap that they don't have the same resources for men that they do for women. I mean, maybe they should be a little bit different, skewed to the situation, but there should still be resources.
I found one in Los Angeles. There's a place called Peace Over Violence that's a domestic abuse place, and they're the only place I found in Southern California that has resources for men. But the reason I bring that up, getting back to the labor issue...
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. No, in my instance, it was somewhat connected. Because I had to go through all of these and the human resources people and everybody just sort of was dismissing it. And I totally understand. I've never had a flat out labor dispute, but I understand the feeling of, oh, don't rock the boat. Don't make waves, is this club never going to let me perform there again? Like, there's all that, stuff. Yeah. And that's my job. That's my work. And so it's not as severe for me because there's other places I can perform. I can whatever. I can, like Ron Placone and I are setting up a tour and we're fine. If I can get a venue and I can sell tickets, I can work. But I do understand that. So the thing I want to, in conclusion here, since you went through that from your labor thing and you were dismissed a lot of it, it took you, 4 years to finally win, and you didn't even have an attorney for a lot of it. What would you say to somebody else? Resolved. There you go. Resolved. That's a great term. So what would you say to somebody who's watching this, who is facing some type of labor situation or sexual harassment, which does also relate to labor, and there's or in my case, it's a violent situation. It was outside of the workplace, but we worked together. So, like, what would you tell that person who's like, I'm afraid to come forward. I don't want to, but I have this concrete evidence. Well, what would you? What do you say to that person?
I would say it's up to every single individual to fight for every right you have now, or lose every right you have in the future. Like, seriously, because it is hard. I went through hell. I did. But the minute I started fighting, things started to change at that company that I worked at and I had that issue with. Things immediately changed. They started hiring all these women. They stopped as much discrimination. And because they wanted to use that in their case to, I can't say that's what their reason was. I can't say that was their intent. So I'm just assuming that they realized they made a mistake and decided to fix it. But I would say, if you go as far as human resources and there isn't any answers there, that's the time when you need to research and find out if you have a case with in your case with the Labor Commission, or if it's a safety violation or discussing safety issues, if it's a case with the OSHA. And if you do file OSHA, I would say absolutely dual file, which means, the best way to go is just go through, the United States OSHA, not your state OSHA, because it's automatically dual filed that way. And then if it's a dispute or, with a discrimination, sex, orientation, disability like mine was, or age or whatever, then I would say EOC, look up all your rights and file through them. But I wouldn't do anything that's frivolous. If you don't have a case that you feel strongly about, if you're just really super iffy on it, then I wouldn't do it. But in my case, I called OSHA first because of the safety thing, and OSHA referred me to EOC. And then my husband, who works for a union, he told me the thing about the wages, and that's pretty much wage theft, what they were doing. I had no idea about that law. So I looked it up, and sure enough. And so I filed that one. If I would have filed it earlier, there would have been more compensation on that. But I got to say, don't give up, because the first two cases that I did were originally lost. I mean, they judged against me on both the Labor Commission and the OSHA, and then I repelled, and I won on both the I didn't repel, I upheld, and sorry, but then on the OSHA one, I won again. And I appealed my winning because I'm just crazy that way. Because I didn't think that they compensated enough for what I'd been through, so I appealed. And at that point, thank God, an attorney saved me.
Well, Chris, that's great, and just as we thank you for sharing your story and telling people, like, it's really important, I think, for people to hear. I mean, obviously, anybody watching out there, you have to make the decision. If the risk-reward decision, you have to make that for yourself. And as you said, don't do a frivolous one. Make sure you have the case, and know that when you go fight City Hall, there's some sacrifices you might have to make. But in your case, and in so many other people's cases, you've opened up, regardless of the intention of what the company, the outcome. Yeah, part of it too. Like for me, I felt the same way. Like I was just like, I'm just standing up for myself. I don't care if the judge throws this out. I know what happened. I wrote it out.
But it changed things anyway, because win, lose, or draw, it draws attention to it, and it changes their behavior to some extent.
Yeah.
But not if it's frivolous. If it's frivolous and you're just going to lose, no, don't do it.
Right.
But I'm also going to say I really, really want to start an advocacy group for people going through things like that. It's something I've been thinking about since like a year after this started, because I had literally no one to talk to, no resources. And I'm not an attorney, but I have experience, and I maybe help people.
I think that's great, Chris. I think you should. This is the thing that is so impressive here about doing this show, and all you and everyone, all you political vigilantes out there. I love this show because I feel like all of you are getting inspired to take actions, either actions that you were taking, or you're inspiring me and creating an advocacy group for workers. I mean, obviously unions have been eroded in this country over the last 4 decades thanks to the nice steady corporate coup that's happened. So I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate you sharing your story with us, and
thank you.
It's awesome, and thank you for being a Patreon backer. And everybody out there watching, you too can be a political vigilante just like the natural progressive. So thank you so much for watching the show.